I will call the remote hearing of the Environment and Natural Resources Finance and Policy Committee to order. Today is March 19th, 2021. This meeting is held in accordance with Rule 10.01, which was passed and allows for remote hearings. All remote hearings are recorded and live streamed by House Public Information. The clerk will take attendance by roll.
Chair Hansen is present. Waslewick, Amy.
Waslewick, present.
Heitzman, Josh.
Present.
Beacom, Patty.
Present.
Ackland, Susan.
Present.
Becker, Jeff.
Becker, present.
Eklund, Rob.
Present.
Fisher, Peter.
Fisher, present.
Green, Steve.
Present.
Igo, Spencer. Jordan, Sydney.
Present.
Keeler, Heather.
Present.
Lee, Fu. Lippert, Todd.
Lippert, present.
Lewick, Dale. Morrison, Kelly.
Morrison, present. Morrison, present.
Nelson, Nathan.
Nelson, present.
Dice, Tama.
Vice President.
And then just go back, we got Igo, Spencer. Lee, Fu. Lewick, Dale. And well, quorum is present.
Quorum is present. The next item on the agenda are the minutes for Thursday, March 18th, 2021. Representative Acom, have you looked at the minutes?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have, and I move approval.
Representative Acom moves the minutes for March 18th, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Today, members and the public, we have the governor's budget recommendations for the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. This should take till about 9:15. We have a number of testifiers, and we have the commissioner of the MPCA, Laura Bishop, here. So welcome, Commissioner Bishop.
Hello. Good morning. Hello.
Morning.
I'm needing my coffee, I guess. So it is really my pleasure to be here with all of you. I have members of my team that will be with me as well. Greta Gauthier from our Assistant Commissioner for Ledge Affairs, and Verlin Schmalley, our CFO, will do the bulk of the presentation with me. And then we'll have our Assistant Commissioners, Kirk Kadelka, Katrina Kessler, and Craig McDonnell as well, that will be presenting some of the specific items too. So we'll dive right into this and our budget recommendations. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you. So I think all of you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, are very familiar with our mission to protect and improve the environment and human health. It is with this in mind, of course, and at the forefront that we present our budget recommendations. We'll go to the next slide. As you know, the governor's budget focused largely on COVID recovery budget, recovery from the pandemic, and focusing on those hit hardest. So just in that context of our budget and the governor's overall priorities with COVID, I just wanted to be able to set that stage of the COVID recovery budget, which I know you're hearing and is in front of you all as well. So MPCA's priorities, when we presented our budget, and we will also be talking about some of our supplemental budget items that were unveiled yesterday, but really when we presented our budget to the governor as well as to MMB, we focused on 3 priority areas: keeping PFAS out of our drinking water and environment. That you've already heard a lot of that in the news, and certainly we've heard it in this committee, and want to thank the members of the committee for all your work on the PFAS issues, and certainly this isn't going away. So the funding that we're presenting here really helps to get at sources of PFAS, as well as understanding what we can do to address that issue much better. So obviously needs a very concentrated effort. Second, preparing Minnesota for extreme weather. This is with regard to climate resiliency, and as we've seen it, our winters and our springs and are wetter than we've seen, and we need to prepare for this extreme weather. We saw it just a few weeks ago where there was a tornado that's not, and a hailstorm at the same time. So these extreme weather events are not going away right now, and we need to do a better job as a state preparing for this extreme weather. And then lastly, our priorities in prioritizing our compliance and environmental justice areas. So we testified before this committee about water gremlin, certainly, and while that's not in an EJ area, it hit an EJ community very hard. And a BIPOC community very hard. What we need to make certain is that our compliance is strong in those areas where we already see disproportional impacts to those populations, and this budget prioritizes that. And then certainly kind of the underlying, we'll talk about the base budget here, but underlying all 3 of those principles is our operational effectiveness. And we'll talk through a few items that focus on operational effectiveness. Next slide. We'll go through our base budget, and I think the best person to bring you through the base budget is Verlin Schmalley, our CFO. So I'll pass it along to Verlin. Thank you.
Welcome, and state your name for the record.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Verlin Schmalley. I'm Chief Financial Officer for the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. I'm going to walk you through the base budget. Next page. This presents the base budget by fund. It's presented in the first column, $563 million. The detail by year is on page 3 of your budget books. The key takeaway from this page is the general fund is just 2.2% of our overall budget at $12.4 million. But we are predominantly funded by the environmental fund, 171.7, and the remediation fund, 242, and federal dollars, which is 43.8. You also see the special revenue. That isn't all that special. That is, with a few exceptions, our cost allocation plan. So it's revenue that we generate from ourselves to support the shared overhead from the agency. It's important to note the closed landfill fund is 0. We're not authorized to use that money until fiscal year 2022. And the other includes the VW settlement money, which is classified as a gift in Fund 2403. We use that money for electric school buses, charging stations, and assist local government units with more efficient heavy-duty vehicles. The base budget has 793 headcount. You see in the 2 columns over the change items. To get to the governor's request, Greta will take you through those in a few minutes. So next page. This is a pie chart of what you've just seen. The general fund is just 22.2%. Remediation fund accounts for 43% of the base. It's important to note that 180 million of that is from the 3M settlement, 77.3 in FY22 and 103 million in FY23. So that is temporarily significantly larger. Most of our money would normally come from the environmental fund, which represents 30% of our base in the upcoming biennium. And except for $3.2 million, most of the clean water fund is removed from the base budget. Direct report appropriations need to be reauthorized each biennium, and that's important to note as well. We'll go through those details later on in our presentation. Next slide. Now you see our spending by division. We have 7 divisions: environmental analysis and outcomes, industrial, municipal, operations, remediation, RMAD, and watershed. It's important to note there's 3 things you can do. You can prevent pollution, manage it, or clean it up. And by far the most expensive is remediation. And you see as part of the 3M work that's impacting us, and 45% of our budget is spent on the cleanup activities. Next slide. This breaks it up by spending category. The key, it's important to see here that our work is largely carried out through local government units through grants, $246.3 million. Again, the 3M settlement impacts that significantly. The rest of our expenditures are evenly balanced between compensation and operating expenses at 28% each. Next page. Now Greta will take you through our change items.
Ms. Gothier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have several categories of change items this session, and we're going to go through each of these categories and explain the change items underneath. So I'll just mention the clean water leg. We are not going to go into detail about that because the committee's already heard it. And the remainder of our change items are groups are laid out, and we'll go through them now with myself, Mr. Schmally, and our assistant commissioners helping in presenting to you. Next slide, please. I'm going to turn this one to Kurt Kadelka.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Kurt Kadelka. I'm Assistant Commissioner with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And I'm just going to talk through these real quick. The first one here is dealing with the PFAS inventory project. All these are basic foundational building blocks that we've identified in the Minnesota PFAS blueprint on how to move forward on this very statewide issue and very complex issue. And the one here is accelerating our inventory project. This is really about what type of facilities are having various types of discharges or emissions or releases of PFAS and identifying them. We know just somewhat about PFAS, and so we're still learning, and part of that is determining what type of industries or businesses or sites are very likely for PFAS releases. So we were able to pull together a list based on historical usage of industries, and what we're looking to do now in 4 pilot counties is go to these locations and start sampling for groundwater, surface water, sediment, air emissions to really gain profiles and inform what the rest of our agency's actions need to be done. Whether it's a plating company that's closed down and we need to do a cleanup, or we need to look at how we regulate a certain type of company to prevent the PFAS, as mentioned earlier, is the easiest way to do it. So this is a foundational information along those lines. This would help us for the next 4 years accelerate that effort. The next one is PFAS source evaluations, and that is about a number of our locations such as landfills, compost facilities, or wastewater plants have waste streams coming to them, and those waste streams are what are carrying the PFAS. And so what this would do is have a source evaluation of what are those things coming into those facilities that have the PFAS, so that we can again create policy or changes in permits to make sure that we address them and again work on prevention instead of treating on the backside. And the final one is PFAS water monitoring. This would help us move forward in a couple areas. It's about fish monitoring and surface water monitoring, really to be able to have the information there for the Department of Health so that they can continue to provide information on fish consumption advisories when we have high levels of PFAS in fish, but also provide some foundational data for us to do other work, whether it's site-specific standards for waters that are heavily impacted by PFAS or statewide standards. So again, these are part of the overall package that's moving forward as part of the Minnesota PFAS blueprint. Thank you. I'll pass it back to Ms. Gauthier.
Ms. Gauthier.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry about that. Next, we're going to turn to our goal of prioritizing compliance in environmental justice areas. And I'm going to turn to my colleague, Craig McDonald.
Mr. McDonald. I think we have kind of a chipmunk voice there. You want to check the mic?
Mr. Chairman, it's been my experience that once you get the chipmunk voice, you sometimes have to go all the way out and come all the way back in to get rid of it. So I will just, oh, go ahead, Craig. Are you back?
Mr. McDonald.
No. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll try to take these slides and Mr. McDonald can be available for questions. So in this area, Mr. Chairman and members, what we're trying to do, as the commissioner said, is increase our focus on environmental justice areas. We are asking for 3 new FTEs for compliance assistance for businesses, and this would be focused on environmental justice areas throughout the state, which we have identified. Also, we're asking for some new air monitoring equipment, Mr. Chairman. This is state-of-the-art equipment, and the important thing about this is that it's portable. A lot of our air monitors are stationary. Some of the newer ones can be moved around, but it still requires, you know, unhinging them from a building and then taking them somewhere else. These can be carried by our inspectors. So this includes equipment that can produce readings that are certified by the EPA to be evident, or to be evidence of whatever that reading is, so that we can go ahead and use that in compliance assistance. So we'd like to have this new state-of-the-art portable technology. And the third part of this, Mr. Chairman, is our environmental justice policy. And that is embedded in the language of the governor's bill. And what this is that it is doing 3 things: codifying the changes we've made internally over the past year or so to incorporate environmental justice and equity into our work. We now have environmental justice goals and outcomes for all 21 of the agency's programs. Mr. Chairman, codifying this makes our intent and goals clear and transparent. The second thing this does is put some important definitions into statute. So for environmental justice areas of concern, and cumulative impact analysis. And then, Mr. Chairman, it changes the definition of environmental justice areas of concern and codifies it so that it lines up with EPA's definition. And then it puts some new requirements for permittees in environmental justice areas and some new authorities for the commissioner for projects or facilities in those areas. And so, Mr. Chairman, our EJ language really takes a holistic approach, looking at all of the types of permits we would do in environmental justice areas. And the new requirements would include for new or expanding facilities that we permit in those areas. They would need to do a cumulative impact analysis and hold at least 1 public meeting with the neighborhood and community before they get their permit from us. And for the new authorities for the commissioner, it would allow her to put in permits as a condition public engagement requirements in all permits in these areas, and then denying a permit for a facility for reasons of adverse cumulative impacts in an EJ area. This is for new facilities in EJ areas. And this does include a sort of off-ramp for projects that have broad community support and broad economic impact, so that if a community wants a new facility, then the commissioner is not required to deny it. And that is something we learned in working with our counterparts in the state of New Jersey, where they just passed a law like this. Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Gothier, just a note on that, that a separate policy bill, I think, for environmental justice is dropped in by Representative Agbaje. It should be introduced. If it wasn't yesterday, it should be on Monday. And I think the companion is by Senator Torres Ray. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Let's go to the next slide. And for this, I'm going to turn to my colleague, Assistant Commissioner Katrina Kessler.
Ms. Kessler.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Again, I'm Katrina Kessler. I'm one of the assistant commissioners with oversight of water policy and agriculture. This proposal would fund grants to communities for climate risk assessment, planning, and prioritization. And you've heard both Assistant Commissioner Gothier and Commissioner Bishop note that this is an area of priority for us and for others. We know that communities across Minnesota are increasingly unprepared for the mega storm events that we are seeing 4 times more frequently than we were just a generation ago. Problems with aging and inadequate stormwater infrastructure are only exacerbated by extreme precipitation events. We can see local streets flooding, we see sewer systems backing up into homes and businesses, and wastewater treatment plants too often have to release partially or untreated wastewater into lakes and rivers. So these funds would allow communities across the state to prepare and position themselves well for when bonding dollars or other funding opportunities to implement capital projects become available. Currently, these types of vulnerability assessments and planning activities are not eligible for bonding funds. So this fills a critical gap in our planning systems. The grants would be available on a competitive basis to counties, cities, townships, and tribal nations. And we think this is an important next step in our ability to address the extreme weather events and the climate change we're experiencing. Turn it back to Greta.
Moving on, Mr. Chairman, we're going to talk about several change items now that are designed to enhance our effectiveness and our efficiency. And we're going to go back and forth between a couple people to talk about these. The first one is accelerated online services. And Mr. Chairman, as in the years past, we are very grateful for the appropriations we've gotten from the legislature to work on this. And we would like to accelerate the rate of our digitizing our services and data sets even more. So this is an increase of $300,000 a year from the Environmental Fund to do this. As you know, the agency is now receiving more than 600 data requests a month, one of the highest rates among state agencies. We have more than 400 services and data sets total, and we are working hard to get them digitized. So we think the efficiencies and the effectiveness that come with this are just reaping so many benefits, Mr. Chairman, especially during COVID. It has been so helpful, and we are so glad that we have as many of our services digitized already. That's been a huge help during COVID. I'm going to turn it over now to talk about the next one to Mr. Schmally.
Well, Mr. Schmally. The records management on a contaminated site requires reassessment, or closed landfill reassessment requires that we review all those historical records. A lot of those are in paper form. So this provides 3 temporary employees, important to note it's temporary, to scan these records in and so we can have them electronically available to do those reassessments.
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Gothier.
The next two, I'm going to turn to Commissioner Kudelka, who covers our land policy issues.
Mr. Kudelka.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. The next one is the Landfill Responsibility Act. It is a policy proposal that does have some financial impacts, and this is about the effectiveness of us carrying out a charge the legislature has given us, and that's carrying out the Waste Management Act, which says as we handle the waste we create in the state, the least preferred option is landfilling. Today in Minnesota, we are increasing our landfill capacity, and that continues to grow. If we look at the amount of waste we as Minnesotans create as a pile, and even if we separate out what's recycled and goes to organics, which is a growing portion, what's going to landfills is continues to grow, and sort of the negative impacts from landfilling waste. And that's what the goals of this proposal is to do, is really drive at those negative impacts. It's to reduce the environmental and climate change impacts of creating waste and disposing of it by incentivizing waste prevention, the high end of the hierarchy where the legislature said we should spend most of our time. And this is really done by reducing the greenhouse gas impacts of landfills, where we have large amounts of methane coming from, which are one of the more potent greenhouse gases, but also as we move through and rely on single-use items, throw them away and rapidly replace them, we do have all the climate impacts from having to do that over and over. So one of our goals is to eliminate that environmental and climate change impacts. The next is to save individuals and businesses money by reducing their waste generation. And that's done by savings on their waste bill. If there's less that has to go in there, just downsizing a garbage can save you dollars on your monthly bill. But also, if we move away from single-use items, there are cost savings within businesses or individual homes that we can address. And this will help bolster our reuse economy, which are Minnesota jobs here. And the last is the impacts on landfills and the dependencies on the local communities. Preserve the landfill space that we have to minimize the impacts to neighbors, but also the long-term care. Landfills are not something when they're done, you can just flip a switch on. They continue to go on in perpetuity. And we've learned the hard way that those costs never truly go away. So what the proposal does is it puts an obligation of 3% of the revenue from landfills to be used in waste prevention. Landfills currently have no economic incentive to reduce the waste they go in, despite all these benefits. And so what it would do is have a process so waste prevention and reuse would be incentivized and also invested in local communities, including EJ communities, to have those benefits I talked about earlier. That would be a transaction between a landfill and these groups, and the agency would help identify worthy projects to move forward in that regard. This is built off a successful model of the Conservation Improvement Program, instead focusing on waste. As I mentioned, 40% of the project should be targeted towards EJ communities, environmental justice communities, because historically across the nation, disposal options tend to occur in those negative impacts in communities where we have people of color or lower income families. In addition, and what you see on the change item is the behind the scenes effort that would be needed by the agency to move this forward. That would be staffing to make sure we monitor and ensure the dollars are being used in a worthwhile area, making sure the landfills are fulfilling their obligations, but also then determining the life cycle analysis and the benefit of these projects, so that as we continue the program, better and better projects with better impacts or reducing impacts for climate change and other environmental impacts can be progressed, including waste composition studies at the landfills to measure our results. Mr. Chair, that is the Landfill Responsibility Act. The next one I'm going to quickly touch on is the Superfund program capacity. As we've been looking at our efforts, much like the records management piece, to become a more efficient entity, we look to see where are the bottlenecks. And right now, we've had a threefold increase in the number of Superfund sites that are coming into the agency. And that's really where it's driving issues with us, where we just do not have the staff power to keep turning them around quick enough. We have a number of cooperative responsible parties, and we need to make sure that we're able to get back to them in a timely fashion. So this would provide additional staffing to help that. It comes from our project budget, and because those projects aren't moving, because we're not moving the projects through, we're just right sizing where the money is. This is not an overall increase in the Superfund budget, just changing from one fund or one area to the next, become a more efficient program. With that, Chair Hanson, I would like to pass it over to Assistant Commissioner Gauthier.
Ms. Gauthier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next one we'll talk about is the St. Louis River Mercury Total Maximum Daily Load Study. Mr. Chairman, I know you have some new members to the legislature on your committee, so I'll just briefly background this by saying that, mercury is a neurotoxin that bioaccumulates up the food chain in fish tissue. So when humans eat the larger fish, those are the fish with the highest mercury levels. The MPCA works with partners under both state and federal law to address mercury contamination of lakes and streams in Minnesota. So whenever mercury levels get over the water quality standard level, then that lake or stream goes on the impaired waters list, and federal law requires us to do a total maximum daily load study for impaired waters. So this study is called a TMDL, and it uses all the available information to determine how much of a specific pollutant, in this case mercury, the water body can receive and still meet the water quality standard. So this is a one-time appropriation, Mr. Chairman, from the Environmental Fund for $350,000. And this would we would hire a consultant to conduct the water quality modeling that we need, computer modeling we need to complete this study. The preliminary work for this study has already been done. We will engage citizens and stakeholders and partner with local governments, tribal governments, the Wisconsin DNR, the US EPA Region 5, all to complete this work. The next item is tribal access to rural recycling grants. Mr. Chairman, this goes back to the rural recycling grants, which were created, I believe, in 2015. And this proposal would extend the eligibility for these grants to the federally recognized tribal nations that are located in Greater Minnesota, because these grants are available to Greater Minnesota communities. So these grants support communities in their recycling and composting efforts. Right now, recycling supports more than 60,000 jobs in the state that pay almost $3.4 billion in wages and add nearly $15.7 billion to Minnesota's economy. Tribal nations are important partners in our statewide waste management and reduction efforts. Mr. Chairman, we'll go to the next slide now. Mr. Chairman, these changes on this slide totaling almost $21 million are aimed at maintaining our current capabilities. And the first one here is the Petro Fund. So the Petro Fund, as you know, was created in the last century to address petroleum cleanups and contamination from leaking petroleum tanks. So this sunsets every 5 years, and then it is extended by the legislature. So this will be the 6th extension. The last extension was in 2016, so that one will expire in 2021. So this would pick up with the fiscal year 2022. So because of the sunset, Mr. Chairman, in the budget, the funding completely stops and then it starts again. So that's why you see the $11 million here. However, this is existing funding that is just being continuing. One note, Mr. Chairman, this year, the eligibility for Petro Fund cleanups, which I should say provide reimbursement of up to 90% of the cost to investigate and clean up petroleum leak contaminated sites. This year, the eligibility is being extended to include abandoned tanks located on tax forfeit properties. The next item here is the closed landfill investment fund, Mr. Chairman. Again, because you have some newly elected members, I'm going to give a little bit more background here. There are 110 closed landfills across the state. These sites produce contaminated fluids called leachate and gases, mainly methane, that we have to manage in perpetuity. Yesterday, we announced that 98 of the 110 closed landfills have PFAS detections, with 59 of those detections over the health risk values, and 16 of those landfills have PFAS over 10 times the health risk levels. So this proposal is seeking to allow time-sensitive responses to unexpected environmental releases or incidents at these closed landfills. And we can't wait for those, for the legislature to come back into session and authorize an appropriation, Mr. Chairman, so that we can respond in situations like happened yesterday that we announced. We also had a fire underground at a landfill in Dakota County late last year. to which we had to emergently, we had to respond immediately. And those are not things that we can budget for, but we need to have the ability to address those when the legislature is not in session. So again, in background for your new members, the legislature created the closed landfill investment fund in the 90s, and after it created the closed landfill program. It was seeded with some money and left to grow and can be spent now after fiscal 2021. We are required to monitor and maintain these closed landfills in perpetuity. The state is, and the PCA has that responsibility. So again, this proposal clarifies that the closed landfill investment fund is statutorily available to the agency for spending on qualified closed landfill expenses beginning in fiscal 22. We will, of course, measure and report out on the money that we spend each year, how it was spent, the projects we did, and the emergencies that came up. Changing the statute will allow us to act quickly when there is a risk to human health and the environment. We have this type of statutory appropriation for many other funds, including the Petro Fund, which I just talked about, the Dry Cleaner Environmental Response Fund, the MILCAT, Metropolitan Landfill Contingency Action Fund, the Natural Resources Damage Account, and the 3M Natural Resources Damages Settlement. So this is just another instance where we bring that into conformity and have statutory appropriation to the commissioner. And we do have a long history of managing these statutory appropriated accounts in a fiscally responsible and protective manner. With that, Mr. Chairman, for the next item, I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Schmalley.
Mr. Schmalley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The air appropriations increase is defined in statute 116.07, authorizes MPCA to collect fees to cover the cost of operating the air program. This includes reasonable costs for developing, reviewing, and acting on applications. So that is as defined by that statute. The general fund operating increase was defined by MMB. It includes of the 152, 82,000 of that is the minute IT charge from the enterprise. And then the rest is a very small 1% increase on the modest salaries that are in the general fund. Now back to Greta.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the rail preparedness is the continuation of an existing program that was started in 2014. This proposal ensures that we continue our rail preparedness coordinator at the agency. So that is $128,000, which is the cost of one FTE at MPCA. So these are statutory obligations we have under Chapter 115E. And this comes from the Railroad and Pipeline Safety account, which is actually at the Department of Public Safety. So we are participating with Public Safety, who is the lead, and the Department of Transportation to reinstate the, for 3 years, an assessment on railroads and pipelines to this account that would be available then to ensure that we can continue this important work needed to prepare and equip local and state government to address emergencies. Our coordinator works with the 5 largest railroads in Minnesota to develop plans for preparedness and response, and coordinates with local emergency managers, fire officials, and railroads. So we also work on testing the feasibility of each railroad's preparedness plan, and we assist them with drills and training. The next item, Mr. Chairman, is legal costs. This is also not in our budget, but this is a transfer from the DNR, and they are requesting $4 million for this purpose. $2 million of that would be passed through to MPCA, and this is for anticipated legal support costs associated with defending agency decisions in contested legal proceedings. Mr. Chairman, the number and nature of regulatory decisions being challenged in various ways has increased markedly in recent years, and our operating budgets do not include the funding for these large legal expenses. Similar appropriations have been made in previous years. Mr. Chairman, the next item is to eliminate a duplicative report. Has a small fiscal impact of just about $6,000 a year, Mr. Chairman, but it's important. Because this report contains information that is available elsewhere and is redundant to other reports. This is a report we do on water quality standards and municipal wastewater systems. It requires the time, quite a bit of time actually, about 2 weeks a year for our only municipal liaison. And we much rather have him working directly with communities to provide technical assistance. As I said, the report contains information that's available elsewhere and is redundant to other reports we already produce. This was created in 2015 and at that time was an unfunded mandate, Mr. Chairman. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Schmalley.
Mr. Schmalley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The internal funding realignment just aligns our appropriations as defined by the state to how we get our work done. All of our spending is defined across 3 dimensions, the funding source, the appropriation or use, but also by division. As we do our work over time, some of that, the agency evolves and where the work gets done in a particular division changes. So this does not change any of the funding or the appropriation or purpose. It simply aligns the division to how we are doing the work currently. There's an extensive detail on page 80 of the budget book that shows you by division where all those changes are made. Thanks. Back.
Ms. Gothier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here's the biennial comparison across the board. And if there are questions, we can come back to this later with Mr. Schmalley. But this shows the change increases here. Again, note for the remediation fund about midway down, it looks like a huge increase of 70.8%. But Mr. Chairman, the bulk of that is the 3M settlement now making its way through as we are working with communities in the East Metro to figure out how to implement long-term solutions for drinking water in that area. And next slide, please. Mr. Chairman, these are our supplemental budget requests, which were announced by the governor and MMB yesterday. So I'll just quickly go over them. The first one is a transfer from the environmental fund to the remediation fund, one time $4 million. Mr. Chairman, this is in order to make sure that we are prepared as we need to be to address issues in the East Metro, as I was just discussing. The big work, the gigantic undertaking we have there now, working with those 14 communities to figure out how to address long-term their drinking water problems. We are finding that we need more capacity in the remediation fund in order to deal with the emerging situations there. As more wells are found to be contaminated, we need to work with the families immediately to get them bottled water and then to get whole house filtration systems in their residents, and also with cities to make sure that they have proper filtration when their drinking water wells are contaminated. So this will allow us that capacity, Mr. Chairman, to be able to meet those needs immediately. The second item here is to maintain our current services and our water programs. I think I'm going to let Mr. Schmalley, I'll put this at the end for him to talk about. I will just go through a couple more. The third one is the upgrading equipment due to the E15. This is part of the governor's biofuels package, Mr. Chairman. And this is for funding that we would provide as grants to retailers for underground tank and equipment replacement that they need in order to come into compliance should the E15 be the new standard. And that comes to $800,000 a year, and that is out of the general fund, Mr. Chairman. Also, in the Clean Water Legacy, we had another additional increase for supplemental, and that was an additional $250,000 a year to fund septic tank upgrades for low-income families. And with that, I'll turn it back to Mr. Schmalley to talk about the operating item for water and then continue through the PowerPoint.
As I mentioned earlier, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned earlier, air programs are defined by statute to recover in 116.07. We don't have that for the water programs. We did not request a operating increase in the FY21 to FY22 budget. The current water programs staffing is 155 people. The cumulative impact of not having an operating increase from 21 through 24 would result in us having to reduce our staffing by 14 people. So this puts the operating increase in place so we can maintain our current staffing through the next biennium. Thanks.
Ms. Gothier.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, my mute button is sticky today. I apologize. Thank you. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk now about the different funds we have, mainly the environmental fund and the remediation fund, where the money comes from, and then where the money goes. And I'm going to turn that back to Mr. Schmalley. Thank you.
Mr. Schmalley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a chart that you saw before, but now that you see the governor's budget proposals added back into the funding sources. Again, the key thing to reflect here is the general fund increases slightly to 3% with the governor's budget proposal, but our overwhelming majority remains in the remediation and environmental fund. You also see the clean water fund is added back in and the closed landfill fund is added back in. Because of the heavy dependence on the remediation and environmental fund, I'll now take you through the sources and uses for those funds. This is the environmental fund. The overwhelming majority of this comes from the solid waste tax, 61%. That's a relatively stable source. In FY20, the revenue increased that in that fund 3.5%. In FY21, we're now projecting 0.9%. The American Recovery Plan included some lost revenue, but we haven't seen that in our primary source. So there won't be funding from that into the environmental fund. The next big component in the environmental fund is the motor vehicle tax. That also tends to be fairly stable and 10% of ours. It's important to note that our fees only represent 24% of our overall budget at 53.9%. Next slide. This shows the environmental fund uses. Note the key item to note here is the transfer of the remediation fund comes from the environmental fund. That's the primary source prior to the 3M settlement. And then you see the uses by the various agencies. Again, remediation work, RMAT assistance is the largest portion. And then you see the various divisions as we use those funds. Next slide. This is the remediation fund. Normally, what you see in the light blue there isn't there, but that's the 3M settlement, which expands the remediation fund significantly. You also see with the governor's budget recommendation, the Petro Fund is at 23.3% and 9% of the overall total. The transfer from the environmental fund is 44%. Those are typically the primary sources. And then you see the other very relatively small amounts that make up the remediation fund. Next slide. Excuse me, next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Oh, this is the, yep. This is the uses of the remediation fund expenditures. Again, the work in the East Metro makes up a large percentage. We've talked about the 180.3 before. And then you see the other elements that take a small piece of the MPCA takes 20%, and there are several small pieces that also get funding from the remediation fund. And with that, I think we're ready for questions. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. With that, Mr. Chairman, we're ready to take questions. And thank you for this opportunity to present the governor's budget recommendations for the MPCA. We also have Katie Pratt, who's the executive director of the Environmental Quality Board here. I know you've heard her budget already, Mr. Chairman, but that budget is a part of our budget. So just in case there were any remaining questions, she's available as well.
And members, I know folks from both parties have a lot of questions. So what I'd like to do to facilitate this is to kind of go every other party so that we can make sure everybody gets in. And if we've got till 10 o'clock, so we've got a bit of time here, but I know there's going to be lots of hands that are up. So if we could go, I'm going to go every other party. And if members could try to keep their questions succinct, that would be good. So I'm going to start with Representative Jordan and then go to Representative Heinzman. Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you everyone for this presentation. I have some questions about the St. Louis River Mercury modeling. I'm really curious about which sources of mercury this model will take into consideration. I think there's a lot of reasons why mercury could be in the St. Louis River and why that river in particular has elevated levels of mercury. And considering it does flow through EJ areas and low-income areas, I'd like to really hear about which sources of mercury this model will be taking into consideration. And I'm also really interested in some of this community engagement work around the St. Louis River and other community engagement work. It's interesting, Fond du Lac was mentioned. Is Fond du Lac going to, what is the role of these community partners per se? Are they advisory or are they going to have actual say in some of the outputs from this study?
Ms. Gothier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to turn this over to Assistant Commissioner Kessler.
Ms. Kessler.
Mr. Chair and Representative Jordan, excellent question. Thank you for that. As you may know, we do have a statewide TMDL that was done in 2017 for mercury because we have so many waters across the state that have elevated levels of mercury in the fish tissue, as Assistant Commissioner Gothier explained. And unfortunately, there are just some systems in Minnesota that are more efficient at turning mercury into the bioaccumulative form, and the St. Louis River is one of them. So this study, as Assistant Commissioner Gothier noted, would be done in partnership with the other partners that include both the federal government, the state of Wisconsin, and the tribes. Fond du Lac in particular, and it would look at all of the sources that the statewide TMDL looked at, including air deposition, runoff from the land, discharges upstream, as well as potential redistribution of mercury that's in the ecosystem through kind of cycling through different types of mercury. And the outcome of this would be a distribution of how we can kind of lower the overall diet of mercury of that river system to actually meet the water quality standard. And so to your other question, which was how do others weigh in on this and what is the role of Fond du Lac? We do have a technical core team that includes researchers from the University of Minnesota Duluth, USGS, as well as Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and EPA, and they will be scoping the study with us. And so everyone on that team will have an opportunity to help put modeling parameters together, look at sources like you've just called out, as well as review the technical analysis as it is underway.
Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for that. So when you talk about sources of mercury, can you be more specific about which industries and which facilities you'll be looking at for mercury contamination in this watershed?
Ms. Kessler.
Yeah, Chair Hansen and Representative Jordan. So yes, we know that 90% plus of the mercury in the air deposition form comes from outside of the state, but we do need to look at the sources in the state as well. And those include coal-fired power plants, others that use energy that are fossil fuel burning, mining industries and wastewater treatment plants. Those would all be included in the scope of this study.
Representative Jordan, anything else?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that answer.
Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There was quite a lot, I think, that we could still talk about with this landfill responsibility element of the discussion. I was hoping that we could get a little bit more detail. It's a big tax, and that increase is going to have a lot of impact around the state. Could we go through that a little bit more in a more detailed way?
Ms. Gothier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, and I'm going to turn to Mr. Kudelka and also mention that in the budget document from MMB, Representative Heitzman, if you look on page 55, there is more detail there, but I will have Mr. Kudelka walk you through.
Mr. Kudelka.
Thank you, Chair and committee members, and thank you for the question. The Landfill Responsibility Act functions on a 3% obligations for the landfills. Whether they use that of their existing revenues or decide to add that on to additional tip fees or that is a decision made by the landfill. That's not money coming to the state. So how this would work is that we would, much like the successful Conservation Improvement Program, SIP, on the energy side, we would have proposers for waste prevention activities. The agency would look at them to make sure that they're good projects, would help recruit those projects to reduce the need for landfills to be able to do that. It would create a menu, so to speak, that the landfills then would create a 3-year plan based off their 3% obligation on what type of things they would like to fund. And then one of the benefits of this program is, and its design, is that the landfill can decide how to do that work within its community. So it can do it within its surrounding area and not necessarily have it in other places. And so I think it's important to talk a little bit about, so what type of projects would be funded? And so we have a robust waste prevention and reuse and repair industry in Minnesota. So an example is Mayo Clinic, for instance, worked with MNTAP at the University of Minnesota, and they looked at that blue wrap that's being used for sterilized materials. A large amount of that just goes into the garbage. And so what was looked at instead was using reusable aluminum sterilized containers. And being able to do that, one of the locations at Mayo, MNTAP calculated, was able to reduce the waste there by 6,000 plus pounds of blue wrap that is no longer going into the garbage. That's a garbage bill that they don't have to pay for that part. In addition, it saw nearly $50,000 annual savings from not having to buy that blue wrap purchase. So that again is that all the climate change requirements to use that one use item would then be reduced. And we estimate that a 26.2 ton carbon dioxide equivalent is what we saw as a result of it. There are other examples where, for instance, the Minnesota Chamber WasteWise are working on with restaurants on Lean Path. It's a tracking software to help eliminate food waste, and the pilot so far has been successful. 3 restaurants have been able to save, $40,000 and cut their waste by close to 30%. So those are the type of projects that the agency would bring in. The landfill then would select which ones they do. They would have that discussion with the proposers on which ones to select and move forward in that regard. There is, as mentioned, and what you see in the change item, an assessment that would be on the landfills to cover the cost of the agency doing that recruitment of various ideas and proposals, keeping up with the records with the landfills and reviewing their plans, in addition to then doing the life cycle analysis to show what those results are and continue to improve the type of projects that come in. And then finally, where a bulk of that assessment is a waste composition study. And that's really just going through a couple trucks coming in to landfill, going through it and seeing what waste is there, creating that baseline, and then coming back in years to see what type of activities are changing. Are we able to reduce a certain type of the waste stream potentially? Or maybe we see a waste stream that's growing, and we then look to see for ways to prevent that. So these would be partnerships between nonprofit, for-profit businesses, and along with the landfills to really reduce the amount of waste overall. That's how it would function. Mr. Chair and Representative Heitzman, if there are more specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but that's kind of a summary of how it would function.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess what I'm hearing, and if Mr. Kudelka wants to clarify, is that the tactic taken here is increase taxes to the point that people make better choices. I'm not necessarily going to speak one way or the other on that. I'm just going to point out that the increases are significant, and I think that that needs to be highlighted. I'm hoping that there was conversations happening between MPCA and the landfills to try to work through this and try to figure out the best way to get our priorities moving in the right direction. Can you just confirm, at least, I'm not sure if it was me, Mr. Kadelka, or Commissioner.
Commissioner Kadelka or Ms. Gothier or Commissioner Bishop?
Mr. Chair and committee members, I can continue on that question. Our solid waste policy plan to the legislature a couple of years ago talked about the need for waste prevention and really finding a way to move forward with that. And so during this fall and summer, we did put together this proposal, announced it, and now have been working and sharing that with the landfills and other businesses. You'll notice there's a number of letters in the testimony, written testimony of various groups that do support it. We're continuing conversations with them to see how the logistics, the operations of it, to improve it. We will continue to do that. We've had some fruitful conversations along that lines with the counties. We have talked to the solid waste industry. We're happy to get their ideas on how to make it better. At this point, I think they've just represented to us that they're just oppose it, and would be happy to always make it better.
Representative Heitzman.
Obviously, the increases have a significant impact. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me ask those questions. I'll have more if there's time after the others.
Yep, we'll cycle through it. I see a lot of hands. So we're going to go to Representative Fisher and then Representative Green. Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to ask a couple of questions on the landfill fund myself. And this is around the issue with PFAS. We heard yesterday about the huge issue of the PFASs that are in the landfills that are leaking out. And it sounds to me like with how high some of these thresholds are being exceeded by, how high above the legal limits that we have the PFAS, what is that going to do to the fund? It seems to me that just that issue alone might drain it. What are the long-term plans to start addressing it? And what are we going to need in resources to protect the drinking water that we have in our state from the PFAS contamination?
Mr. Kadelka, you want to take that one, or Commissioner Bishop or Ms. Gothier?
Mr. Chair and committee members, I can take that to start with. As mentioned, the closed landfill programs are 110 landfills that are closed and for the most part are online. So at this point, we can't stop PFAS from coming in. It is there and we have to deal with what's there. And that's why the access to the closed landfill investment fund is important. And we agree that that is a large task. As we've been looking at how to use the closed landfill investment fund, we really want to target and work with the State Board of Investment, which we've done, to target working on just using the interest moving forward on that. And so the corpus would be there. And so as you mentioned, Representative, this is a long-term issue. We want to make sure that money is there to continue to have a funding source moving forward and not come back to the legislature for other pieces. There's multiple ways we can do that. One is we need to do more monitoring, whether it's drinking water wells or just the extent and magnitude of the contamination to understand it. We want to move forward with a feasibility study on removing PFAS from the leachate and see how to do that efficiently so that we aren't passing that onto a wastewater plant, or if we're able to do pump and treat systems, for instance, on the groundwater, we're able to remove the PFAS from it. That's how for the closed landfills. The open landfills that you talked about, that's another part of the governor's budget. That's that source evaluation, looking at the waste streams, what's coming in, and being able to determine what are those sources so that policy and pollution prevention and minimization efforts can be done upstream. For instance, from some of our research, we know the #1 source for our compost facilities is food packaging by multitudes. And I know Representative Wozniak has a bill to ban the use of PFAS in it. It's going to take policies like that, which we can use with the governor's proposal to find out where we need to do and then direct policies to back that up. And that's how we can help reduce what's coming through our wastewater plants and also through our landfills and solid waste facilities.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Gothier.
if I could just, I wanted to just correct something that I think was reported erroneously in the paper this morning, or not clearly, about those landfill announcement yesterday. The balance in the Cliff Closed Landfill Investment Fund was reported in June at 65 million. But the value of the fund as it is invested and worked with by the Board of Investment is 122 million. So what that means is that if they sold all the investments and could liquidate it, that's how much they could get. The paper today reported, the Star and Tribune reported, that the balance was 122 million. That's not true. The balance is 65 million. Thank you.
And Ms. Gothier, maybe before we're done here today, if you could do the screen share of the map of the landfills that was
Sure.
presented yesterday, that I think it'd be helpful for the committee to see that, and might, because that was in the press release, but we haven't had it in front of the committee. So Representative Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Knowing there's a lot of hands out there, I'll jump quickly to the next question. Is on the 3M settlement. We were talking about those dollars coming in and going out. Number one is 3M making the settlement payments on a timely schedule. And I noticed that the dollars that are starting to go out are going out quite in large amounts. What are the things that are driving the larger amounts that are going out? Is it addressing basically the protecting people's water out there? Is it more private well systems you're looking at? Are they starting to get into the public well distributions that Woodbury and Lake Elmo have?
Who wants to take that one?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Kudelka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Representative, for the question. I will start with the second one, which is what type of projects are we funding today? The 3M settlement is for those long-term projects, and that's what we're doing. We are right now hooking up community neighborhoods, for instance, in Lake Elmo and in Cottage Grove, where there are dense populations of impacted communities where long-term it's more effective for them to be on a municipal system than a private well. In addition, we are starting to work on some land purchases for some of the long-term drinking water treatment facilities that would be located, for instance, in Woodbury. Where you see that projection and a large amount of dollars are, we're getting very close to the design and actual capital structure and building of that. And we anticipate, anywhere around $300+ million in capital improvements that will be needed. And so that's where you see in the projection that was shown on the presentation is the start of those dollars going out to build those infrastructure in the next 2 years. The first question was about the 3M and how that's moving forward and the $4 million in the supplemental budget. The settlement is for long-term projects, and that is very clearly put in the settlement. And then the short-term temporary projects to get us there, those are to be covered by 3M for 5 years, up to $40 million. And so, for instance, those are treatment systems for individual homes or communities like we have in Cottage Grove. What we ended up doing, for instance, we would do the project, the agency would pay it, send an invoice to 3M to be reimbursed. What is happening is 3M is disputing some of those costs and not covering them. And so the state is having to do that until we can have that resolved. An example is 2 falls ago, we worked with the city of Woodbury. They had a couple wells that all of a sudden popped over the health index level. We've worked with them for a temporary system, and we needed the cash flow to make that project go forward. And so those are some of the things that we're trying to do in the near term to make sure that everyone has safe and sustainable drinking water now, as we develop those long-term plans into the future.
Representative Fisher, I got a lot of other hands. Anything else?
No, I'll come back if the hands go, if we get that chance. Thank you.
Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had other questions, but before I get to them, I want to touch more on the landfill portion of the proposal. I have a problem with making this an open appropriation. And I was going to ask what the available funds were, but I think Ms. Gothier answered that with 65 million. But if this proposal goes through with this open appropriation, legislature will be taken right out of the process. And I'm wondering if you can give me examples of where an emergency occurred that MPCA was not able to act under current conditions.
Ms. Gothier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the second one, I will let Mr. Kudelka take that. But for your first question, Representative Green, and thank you for your question, I would say that we have proposed spending $2 million in fiscal 22 and 3.6 million in fiscal 23 and ongoing after that. So what that ends up being is about the earnings of the fund without touching the corpus. The reason we're doing that is that we think will allow us to address the ongoing maintenance and operation and so forth. Of course, we did this budget sheet last summer and last fall. So I'll leave it to Mr. Kudelka or Mr. Schmally to talk about whether or how that might change, given what we now know about PFAS. And I do have that map when you would like to see that, Mr. Chairman, just let me know. Mr. Kudelka, I'll turn it over to you.
Mr. Kudelka.
Thank you, Chair, and a great question, Representative. As mentioned a little earlier, our remediation fund is set up the same way that we're proposing that the closed landfill investment fund would be done, so that when there are projects that are needed to go forward, an emergency, that it could be addressed. So, and a specific example is 2 falls ago, and that's the Woodbury example. We had gotten back from the Department of Health that a number of their wells had now exceeded health-based values for PFAS. The community needed a temporary drinking water system and authorization to move forward for design and construction in that fall and early winter, so that it could be brought on early spring when high usage of water would go on. We were not in legislative session at that time. The statutory authority allowed the MPCA to use the remediation fund to fund that project and move forward on that. And that's why we're looking to do the same thing for the closed landfill investment fund. Those very large ticket items that we would not be able to cover otherwise. Overall, we will always look to see where we can do within our current budget, but there are sometimes there are just things too large or a budget already being used and paying invoices coming in that we do need that emergency ability to get in and access the dollars.
Representative Green.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that answer. But I will submit to you that nothing is going to happen overnight. And even with the example that you gave, I remember that. And the appropriations and the work wasn't done till months later. And so I really have a real problem with this, where you're going to now have access to these funds, and where does it go from there? But I did have a question. I'll have a lot of questions, but I'll keep it short as well, because I know there's more people and they'll ask questions too. But on the grants to the local government units for planning for climate resiliency, what would the structure of the program be, and the size of the grants? And then I also know that a lot of the bigger cities have done this already. So where is a lot of the work going to be done, or has it been done already? A lot of questions, but I know they're short on time.
Commissioner Kudelka.
Actually,
go ahead.
Chair Hansen.
Ms. Kessler, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Representative Green, and you're exactly right. There are some communities who have already done this work, and these dollars could be used to accelerate that in some instances. And then we know, unfortunately, that there are other communities across the state in greater Minnesota and throughout the state that haven't been able to start this work. So we anticipate that there will be a high demand for this. We had some stakeholder conversations about a year ago now to judge the demand, not only for the planning assistance grants, but also for implementation dollars. And we know that this will not go far enough, but it's a critical first step. So we, from previous experience, we know that you can get an assessment plan done for a medium-sized community for about $200,000. So we could help quite a few communities with 2.9 million get that work initiated and then advance work where it already has occurred.
Representative Green.
Thank you. So it doesn't really sound like you've got the size of maybe what you're looking for, what communities, but I'll get back, we can go to that another time. I only got one more question, and then if there's time, I can ask more later. But I was reading on some of the stuff where you're asking for equipment that's going to detect leaks early on in the process, even very small leaks. And I was wondering if you have any examples of how that works. It sounds really interesting, but has it been in the field working, or is it something new? And where would you plan on using that?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Gothier.
Yes, I would turn that over to Assistant Commissioner McDonough, who I think is back on normal sound now.
Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chair, I'm hoping that you can hear me and, my voice is more melodic this time for what that's worth.
The chipmunk is gone, so you're clear. Go ahead.
Excellent. Great question, Mr. Green, Representative Green. So the three pieces of equipment do work in tandem. The forward-looking infrared camera is, as it sounds, an infrared camera that can detect leaks among pipes or anything like that. So it's just uses a heat signature to detect any kind of escaping gas. It's something EPA uses. It's EPA recommended equipment, and it's equipment we'd like to have here. So then it works in tandem with the toxic vapor analyzer, which actually detects the concentration of the gas once you find a leak. And if there's a concentration that is above a certain percentage, 500 parts per million is the typical one, we know that that is actually a compliance issue. But those are the kind of small leaks that we want to get ahead of. So it can be something easy where just an easy equipment upgrade, we're able to find it. We're able to work with the regulated facility to address that leak very, very quickly before it becomes a problem. So it's equipment that's being used in other states, being used by EPA, and something that we're really excited about, that kind of technology. And it would be deployed through our normal inspection process. Our air inspectors conduct about 150 air inspections per year. And so the opportunity to use this would be really important, so we could detect it in those 150 inspections, or look at other facilities like we did with TCE, that we know there might be an emerging chemical of concern, to look specifically for signatures of TCE or other chemical leaks. So excited about that potential with this equipment.
Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And there are other questions, but I will, like the other ones, respect other people's time and get to them if there's time. Thank you.
Thank you. And members, we have about 15 or less than 15 minutes left. And I know there are people who would have asked to testify. We're just taking the information from the agency. If members have questions that we don't get to today, I'd encourage them to work with the agency on getting those questions answered. If there are people who would like to provide written testimony, they could send that to Mr. Strohmeyer. It will be added to the committee page so that it's part of the public record and consideration. Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for the first question, I don't know who this will be to, but it's towards the item for the St. Louis River. I understand that back in 2017, the state of Minnesota appropriated, I don't exactly know the number, but earlier this year, we received a report from MMB talking about expenditures of capital projects, and there's still around $13.6 million for the MPCA for the St. Louis River cleanup. And so I want to ask, why are we asking for the $350,000 in this and not use the remaining uncommitted bond proceeds that were appropriated in 2017?
Ms. Gothier.
And I will turn to Ms. Kessler.
Ms. Kessler.
Chair Hansen and Representative, that's an excellent question, and it gets to the St. Louis River remediation work that we are doing in partnership with US EPA and the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources and Fond du Lac for legacy contamination in the estuary. And that money, the money that the representative noted, is the state's contribution that we put towards the matching fund that's required for the Great Lakes Initiative restoration money that goes to clean up legacy pollution. And so the study that would be called for in the proposal, the St. Louis River total maximum daily load, is separate. The Great Lakes restoration is really just cleaning up legacy pollution. Certainly if there are mercury sources of contamination in the sediment and they would be removed and remediated, that's great. But this is still forward looking and needing to think about how we can right size the contributions of mercury in the St. Louis River going forward, as opposed to cleaning up legacy pollution.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Gothier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Representative Lee. Just to clarify, the legislature did appropriate bonding dollars in 2017 to match. It's a 2-to-1. Federal pays 2, we pay 1 match through the federal Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. So the dollars that you're seeing, Chair Lee, are actually dollars that have been appropriated. They have not been spent yet because that cleanup work continues. There were 11 sites we needed to clean up in the estuary, as Ms. Kessler said. And so that is a separate federal pot of money that we had to match, and we have to make sure that match is still there as that work continues. So this study is a separate, a whole separate piece, area of work not involved directly with the funding we got from the federal government that the legislature matched in 2017 for this years-long process of cleaning up 11 contaminated sites in the Duluth Harbor and estuary.
Representative Lee, can I move on to the next ones?
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chair. And so just for the MPCA, and I think it might be relevant for our committee with jurisdiction over the MPCA, is that there's still that 13.6 million that's uncommitted right now, and it's set to cancel at the end of the year. And so I don't know if this study is going to impact that or not, and I don't know if the MPCA is looking to extend that appropriation or not. But Mr. Chair, we'll take a deeper look at this in the Capital Investment Committee. Just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative Lewick, then Representative Wozlawik, and then Representative Morrison in 9 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question revolves around legal costs. I believe we've got 4 million programmed, half of that for DNR and half of it for MPCA. My concern or question is with the rulemaking on the California cars auto emission business, obviously going forward. Do you anticipate, does the agency anticipate 2 costs? One is obviously there's a fierce opposition to adopting those California car standards, at least in rural Minnesota, major portions of it. So that potentially may generate some costs. Do you have a perception of what that will cost? And the second part of that is the level of effort that it will take to continue the rulemaking. I would assume, maybe you can correct me on this, every time the unelected board in California makes a change to their rules, do we just have to swallow that in Minnesota, or is the agency going to incur additional dollars going through an update to the rules to match what the unelected board is going to jam down our throat? So it's 2 parts: legal jeopardy you put the state of Minnesota in, and ongoing costs into the future on these California car standards. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Gothier.
I can address that.
Oh, Mr. Bishop, go ahead.
Hi there, Mr. Chair and Representative Lewick. Thank you for the questions. So the legal costs that are incorporated in there, I will say that most of the costs that we have seen with our legal costs have been to major mining operations and defense of those permits, and with what we have seen too, as you have seen with Polymet. The ongoing legal costs, we do certainly, when we have been looking at the rulemaking, this does not incorporate in the legal costs. It's not incorporating the cost of implementation of any rule or the ALJ. What it's incorporating is defense of and support for the policies or permitting that the agency puts forward. That's what the legal costs would be. So we do not anticipate that there are any legal challenges that have been there, have not been on this, have not been successful, and we believe that we are within the law on the Clean Cars Minnesota. I'd say the second piece that you asked about was the changing of the when California, the CARB board would make changes. What would happen on that is that the agency would either have to do another rulemaking to be consistent with California if there are substantial changes, or the state would go back to what the federal standards are. So we're not looking at that from an anticipated extensive legal costs going forward for clean cars. This has mainly been in defense of the agencies, either water permitting or other rulemakings, or permitting for some of the major mining operations.
Representative Luke, I'm going to get the other two questions in here. So Representative Wozlawik and then Representative Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to actually offer some comments of support for some of the enforcement authority provisions that are sort of policy and budget. I think that that's a piece that we heard loud and clear from community members surrounding water gremlin, was wanting more folks, more people working in the air enforcement area to make sure that we're catching these things before they get out of control. The one question I did have, and I don't know if this is sort of related to the cliff conversation, but also the landfill piece. Do we have a sense for, I know we just tested those closed landfills. Do we have a sense for PFAS levels in landfills that, do we have that information somewhere, PFAS levels in landfills that are currently being used?
Ms. Gauthier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm turning that to Mr. Kudelka.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair and Representative, for the question. We do not have the comparable data set for our open permitted landfills. It is something that's noted in the Minnesota PFAS blueprint as a gap, and one of the items we have on our short-term projects to move forward. Right now, the agency is working on a comprehensive strategic approach and monitoring not only our open landfills that are being permitted, but other permitted and regulated entities such as our cleanup programs, our wastewater treatment plants, our industry and commercial sectors, and really developing a plan on how we want to do to close that gap. We don't have the information how to do that through monitoring. Thank you.
Representative Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm heartened to hear about the relaunch of the TMDL process. As an obstetrician, I'm very concerned about the study that showed that 10% of newborns in the Lake Superior area are born with unsafe levels of mercury. Mercury, as was stated, and we know, is a neurotoxin that can cause low birth weight, neurocognitive deficits, and a variety of neurodevelopmental problems. Given that, it strikes me that we have to take all potential sources of mercury and methyl mercury into account, including planned projects that risk increasing the levels of heavy metals in the St. Louis River, like the Glencore Polymet project and all of the projects that would come in its wake. So given that our permitting laws have not been updated for years and don't adequately address the true risk of non-ferrous mining, how will that be factored in?
Commissioner Bishop.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Morrison. I think that Katrina Kessler is probably the best one to answer that.
Ms. Kessler.
Chair Hampton and Representative Morrison, thank you for your question. And we agree that it's really important to think about all sources, and that is an integral part of a total maximum daily load study. So how that works is we look at all existing sources and allocate out for a given sector what their appropriation is, so how much, what their cap is that they cannot exceed. And that would include reserve for any potential future projects and any potential future permitted facilities or projects that might bring mercury into the system would have to stay within the cap that is called out in that study.
Members, we are out of time. We will be continuing the budget process over the next couple of weeks. I know that members will have follow-up questions and additional questions. And the map with the closed landfill, we weren't unable to share that. We had some technology challenges this morning, but it was emailed to all members of the committee. So thank you again. We are adjourned.